Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas telling members of Congress that he is concerned with the Biden administration's plans to lift Title 42 at the end of next month. According to reporting from Axios, Mayorkas has been expressing unease and frustration with the rollback. Joining me now, Florida Congressman and House Budget Committee and House Small Business Committee member Byron Donalds. Congressman, always a pleasure to see you. What about this report on Secretary Mayorkas? And maybe he needs to speak about it publicly then.
He absolutely needs to speak publicly. Listen, I was on the border last week, my third trip to the border. That's actually 3 times more than the president's actually been to the border. And I will tell you firsthand that if we lift Title 42, it will be a dramatic spike in illegal entrance into the United States. Border Patrol agents are already overwhelmed. And what Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas want to do to Border Patrol is just turn them into a processing agency and take them away from their original mandate, which is border security for the United States. They are undermanned. They are outgunned in this battle. Lifting Title 42 now would only make matters significantly worse.
Congressman, Nancy Tingler lives in a border state. Nancy, jump in.
Thank you, Byron. I love your commentary. It's always a pleasure to watch you. So I do live in Arizona, and we actually ride horses down near the border, and you can see the devastation that's left behind. Very, very garbage buildup, big garbage, fires. You can see where the fences have been cut. How do we get any resolution on this? Because we have full hotels full of illegal aliens across the border. And they're guarded, and it's taxpayer money, and we're shipping them all over the country. How do we get this to the top of the docket? It's only talked about on Fox and on this show in particular.
Congressman?
Well, I mean, look, I'll just tell you right now, I think that a couple of things we need to do. Number one, you're right, this has to be talked about a whole lot more. Number two is that we have to hold the administration accountable for what they're doing, which is moving people all across the United States through military installations or through unmarked hotels. They refuse to acknowledge this. But where this all starts is that they have allowed for the most liberal interpretation of asylum in American history. You should not be able to claim asylum at the southern border. If you do that, and if you process it the way this administration is doing, all you're doing is giving an open invitation for the drug cartels to traffic people across the southern border, because the drug cartels are going to make billions of dollars last year and billions of dollars this year under Joe Biden's terrible border policy.
And Congressman, I'll just point out that members of the New York Post staff, particularly Miranda Devine, have been on top of the kind of wide open border, but the mass illegal immigration happening. And she wrote yesterday that there was another suspected migrant flight that landed in White Plains, New York on late Tuesday night. It was the 5th such flight in just 6 days. And again, the Biden administration is going above and beyond trying to hide how they're moving these illegal immigrants all across the country. And that's part of the problem. And without some members of the press, the American people would never even know about this. I want to talk about the Justice Department appealing that federal Florida judge's ruling to end the mask mandate on public transportation. This is after the CDC requested this appeal, saying, quote, an order requiring masking in the indoor transportation corridor remains necessary for public health. Well, then why are they getting rid of Title 42 if the pandemic is still in our midst? We're still in the middle of it. But again, it's this persistent power preservation that the Biden administration seems to be most concerned about.
Listen, first of all, you're absolutely correct in what you're saying. The mask mandate from CDC has long outlived its usefulness, number one. Number two, COVID-19 was not being transmitted on airplanes. If it was, the data would have been clear by now, and the American people would clearly understand that COVID would pass if you're sitting in an airplane for 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Dagan, I fly a lot. Let me tell you right now, it's not a vector of transmission. What we have right now is a CDC and a White House that doesn't want to display all the facts associated with COVID-19. They've long outlived their emergency powers at this point. The federal judge in Florida is absolutely correct. Until CDC gives data and information to the American public, which they've refused to do, then they don't need to continue this mandate anymore. It should never actually, the higher court, the appellate court, should uphold the Florida order because there is no need to do this anymore. And last thing I'll say is the airline companies know it too. They've been advocating to get rid of the mask mandate on airplanes. It doesn't make any sense to continue anymore.
Congressman, before we go, so the Florida, your home state, the Florida legislature in the state voted to abolish that special district which lets Walt Disney run its own private government. Just your reaction to that?
Well, listen, I think if Disney Corporation is going to have a problem with how Florida is being governed, then it's incumbent upon the members of the legislature to take a look at any of the special districts that Disney has. They're the only entity that has its special district like that. They got it 50 years ago. There's no need really to have it anymore. And so, frankly, Disney put themselves in a position they didn't need to be in, and these are the consequences of that. Congressman
Byron Donalds, always a pleasure. Great to see you, sir. Come back soon.
Anytime.
Be well.